You're live, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Tatro. I am the chairman of the Auburn Zoning Board of Appeals, and I call this meeting to order. So today is Thursday, May 20th, 2021. It is our 6 o'clock p.m. start time for our remote participation meetings. If anyone is interested in calling in at this time to join us, please do so by calling 1-646-749-3112 and enter the access code 944-71349. Or you can join by computer by going to gotomeeting.com, join 944-571-349. So before I begin this evening, if everybody could just manage their electronic devices they're using to attend the meeting and make sure you know how to use the button, that would be helpful. And if you have any other electronic devices nearby that you aren't using, such as a phone or other, if you could turn the volume down on that, that would be very helpful. We have a pretty busy end of the season, so I want to move forward as much as I can. Somebody is walking around and doing things with an open microphone already. Can we please correct that? Okay, so with that being said, I have a remote participation script I have to read through as quickly as possible. Please bear with me for a moment. Confirming member access. So as a preliminary matter, my name is Robert Tatro. I'm the chair of the Auburn Zoning Board of Appeals. In an effort to reduce background noise, I'm going to ask that you all please mute your phones at this time and only unmute if you want to speak. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Member roll call. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Vice Chair Michael Marin.
Affirmative, I'm here, Bob.
Thank you. Mr. Chicolo.
Affirmative, I'm here.
Thank you. Welcome, sir. Mr. Cussy.
Affirmative, I'm here.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Roach.
Affirmative, I'm here.
And Caitlin Bush.
I'm here.
Okay, so before the meeting began, Mr. Jones asked if we had a full agenda, if he could opt out of the meeting because he had other commissions to take care of. So we're going to allow him to do so. In the event we need to bring an alternate member up, Ms. Bush will be stepping up to the plate and joining the team this evening. Somebody has some background noise going on, please. Okay, so town officials and employees participating. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Building Commissioner Moody.
Here.
DPIS Building Clerk Katrina Smalls.
Here.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the town side that I may have missed that I was not participating this evening?
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving forward, introduction of the remote meeting. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Zoning Board of Appeals for Thursday, May 20th, 2021, now called to order. The meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Bacon's executive orders of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the Governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible. Hang on one second. I have to plug in. There we go. Okay. You can find the agenda materials meeting on the town listed on the town's website. Allow public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so as long as reasonable public access is afforded, so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Zoning Board of Appeals, henceforth known as ZBA, is convening by remote participation for the public only. Although some staff may be physically located in the selectmen's meeting room at the town hall, those town employees are practicing social distancing in accordance with the governor's orders. Again, for the public to join the meeting for the second time, call 1-646-749-3112 and enter access code 944-571-349. Or the public can join via computer, gotomeeting.com, click on join, enter 944-571-349. The remote access information has been posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Auburn Cable Television. Accordingly, Additionally, those members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, employees and members of the public who participate, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. For the materials of the meeting, all supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before I do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for an effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate minutes of the meeting. I, Robert Tager, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in discussion with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. After members have spoken, the chair will report public comment as follows. The chair will first ask members of the public to wish to speak to identify themselves, their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, I will call on each by name and afford up to 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, for each vote taken, the meeting will be conducted as a roll call vote. If we have any technical difficulties, the chair will suspend the meeting while attempts to repair such are made, and then we will keep accurate minutes noting any disconnections and reconnections for the members. Okay, so let me go back to my other screen here. All right, back on the meeting screen. So, do I have a motion to open the Thursday, May 20th, 21, 6 o'clock p.m. meeting?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to open the hearing as stated.
Thank you, Mr. Marin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chicolo. Mr. Cussy?
Open.
Mr. Chicolo, I have to ask you for a vote, even though you seconded, sir. How do you vote?
Say it again, please.
So there was some issues in a couple of meetings ago that was not pertaining to the zoning board, but for the record, I have, even though you second a motion, I have to have an individual vote. So that just came up recently. We have to kind of fit that in our agenda. So how do you vote, sir, to open the meeting?
Affirmative.
Thank you. Ms. Roach?
Affirmative.
Thank you. Ms. Bush?
Affirmative.
Thank you. And I vote to open the meeting. 6 o'clock p.m. I'm sorry, somebody's speaking and saying not necessarily great words about our protocols that we have to begin with. I apologize, but just be careful what you're saying on TV. Okay, so 6 o'clock p.m. applicant Alicia Albanaz, if I say that incorrectly, I apologize, requesting a special permit under section 3.9.1.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a home occupation on property located at 95 Rockland Road, Auburn, Mass, map 11, parcel 93. Do I have a motion to open the 6 o'clock p.m. hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I believe we've already made that motion to open.
Okay, I thought I made the motion to open the meeting, but that's fine. We'll accept that. So, is Ms. Albanaz present, please?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi. So if you could just go over, introduce yourself, and talk about what you'd like to accomplish, and then I'll let the board members speak to you and find out what's going on.
Sure. Hi. So my name is Alicia. I live in Auburn. I've been here for about 4 years. And what I'm hoping to do is get my kitchen, my home kitchen licensed for, I guess, almost commercial or retail use by the Board of Health. What I'm mainly looking to do is to be able to sell items, baked goods specifically, at farmers markets. I'm not really looking to do a lot of home pickup, so I don't foresee any change to our already busy street. I'm looking to just produce my products here and be able to bring them for sale other places.
Okay. So what I usually do is go right down the order, and then we'll have the members speak with you, and then we can go and move forward from there. So, Vice Chair Marin, do you have any questions of the applicant, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just a couple of questions. I did see in your brief that you provided, and thank you, that there's no intent property. Do you intend any signage or any customers that would visit your home to pick up or make orders?
No, I don't intend on putting any street signage. My plan would be if someone was coming here to pick up, that they would, I would send them information about obviously the house number and a picture just so that they could find me, but without changing any appearance to the street itself.
Okay. And no external signage is planned for your business?
Correct, no outside signage.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'll reserve any additional questions and wait to hear from any abutters. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cussy?
Yeah, one question. Delivery on materials, will that be trucked in or are you going to pick it up?
I would be picking up materials. I'm not looking to have anything delivered, as I cannot foresee being anywhere close to a large enough scale to need any kind of delivery.
Very good. Thank you. That's good for me, Bob.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chicolo?
I have no questions at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Roach?
No questions for me. I think the same comment that we usually make when we have these before us. Always just want to recognize the applicant's honesty in coming forward, because I think sometimes that's not what happens. So I have no questions. I'm good.
And I would agree with that. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Ms. Bush, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you. And honestly, I really don't either. I'm going to wait and see. Do we have any abutters present that would like to speak on this hearing?
Yes, hi. Bernie Gagnon at 99 Rockland Road.
Okay.
Hi, this is Laurie Walsh, also at 90. Bernie, you speak first, but I'm on here as well at 97 Rockland.
All right,
Okay.
hold on one second. So let me just make sure that we have them in order. So I'm sorry, I got Bernie. What is your first name and your name and address again, sir, please?
It's Gagnon, Gagnon at 99 Rockland Road. We're essentially 2 homes down from the applicant.
Okay. And ma'am, your name and address, please, for number 2.
My name is Laurie Walsh, LaurieWalsh, and I live at 97 Rockland Road, and that 95 Rockland abuts my property.
Okay, so Mr. Gagnon, sir, I'll yield the floor to you. If you could just, through the chair, ask me the questions, and we can direct them to the applicant.
Sure. It's just effectively, we recognize that Rockland Road is a busy street, and I think one of the primary concerns in this household is parking in front of the residence, and we know from personal experience that parking in front of the street, in front of our home, it leaves very little space to get by in the lane. Our only concern is that they're with the potential for having vehicles parked in the street, because anybody that's familiar with Rockland Road, that it intersects or it ends at Auburn Street and Boy Street, but at the point where we are, it levels off. It comes up a hill from each end, and it levels off, and we've had issues relative to people driving too fast on the street. And again, our concern is with vehicles parked in the road, and I believe the applicant has addressed that to some extent, but that's the only thing for general safety in the neighborhood.
So we can, to the applicant first, before I discuss that part. So do you have adequate off-street parking at this location, ma'am?
I do. My driveway is very large. I haven't measured how many cars exactly I could get in it, but I would guess it goes at least 5 cars deep, and I have no intention of having that many cars for pickup at any time. And one of the things that I absolutely plan on doing is telling anyone that may potentially come to pick up that they need to be off the street, and also a reminder, just even though it is a busy street, we have a lot of families, we have a lot of kids here, so please take your time, pull into the driveway, and just be really cautious coming through.
I mean, no, I'm not suggesting any expenses here. Please don't get me wrong. But to me, when you live in a neighborhood like that, and if you just have a very simple small sign that just says, off-street parking with an arrow, if it came to that, you know what I mean? Rather than having the business, from a safety point of view, I wouldn't personally have a problem with that. So, Mr. Gagnon, back to you, sir.
Yes.
Does that answer your question, your concerns?
Yes, it does. I think it was sufficiently addressed. I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
And we can make that as, I didn't want to interject this until after the applicant had the opportunity to speak, but we can make that as a condition of the special permit if we need to also, so.
Yeah, if it comes to that, it may not hurt, as I believe you suggested, just to put a little sign that says no on-street parking.
Right, okay, so I think that can be resolved fairly easily, so that's great.
That's good. Thank you for the answer.
Absolutely, thank you, sir. I believe it was Ms. Walsh, I hope I said that correctly.
Yes, that's me. Hi, how are you?
Can you go
for having me. Hello, Brittany and Alicia. I have a few concerns as your property abuts mine. My number one concern is the trash. Will there be a dumpster on site? Because with my experience in the restaurant, there's always rats, mice. I did see like a beaver back there one time, or a gopher. Something had to be caught by a gentleman who lives on Oakwood. Just bunnies. You know, there's a lot of wildlife around here. How are you going to? You have to empty trash every day, and if it goes out there, then those rats are going to come onto my property.
So, ma'am,
would you please address that?
Hold on. So your concern is the accumulation of trash on the property and possibility of pests. Is that correct?
I have several concerns, yes. Do you want me to list them all first, or?
Well, what are the other ones? Maybe we can bundle them together, maybe we can't. What are the other ones you have?
Just the traffic impact on the area, because as Mr. Gagnon mentioned, it is a cut through both to James Street. You can just go up to Boyce that way, up to, you know, where they're building. My property actually abuts where that 55 plus is going in the old school back there. So if you go take a right out of my driveway, you go down to like the old One Stop and St. Joseph's Church. But if you take a left, you could go up to James Street, but you could also go towards Bakery, a wonderful bakery right down the road. That's in a commercial setting, not a residential. I mean, okay. Giovanni's, rather.
Right, okay.
The sewer, you know, I was trying to print out, and I did look at how you all, you know, your RA, your RB, your RC, your RR, your RO. It says 3.2.2.5, combined business and dwelling. There's all N. That's, I mean, I'm looking at your bylaws. The building shall be connected with the public sewer system. It probably is, as mine is. Where else did I?
Oh, ma'am, hold on one second.
It was just...
Yes, she didn't apply under the particular zoning regulation that you requested. She specifically applied under 3.9.2.
Okay. I see. Okay. So that is a legal thing to do. Perhaps, if it works for the town, do that. That's what I wasn't 100% sure about that.
Right. It's specifically.
But thank you very much for clarity.
Okay. So it sounds to me then it's really the concerns of the trash management and the pest are still the major concern so far. Traffic has been addressed, I think, by the other, and the parking has been addressed by the other.
Yes.
And what,
okay, and then I mean, like, I don't know. It's just like the liability of it. I work for insurance. I've been in insurance for 7 years, and I've been on this property for 5. I have 4 young boys and a dog who barks her head off if we're outside, if people are coming in and out, and I don't know what's coming and going. And, I mean, what's going to be in the product? It's baked goods, but, I mean, I don't know. I honestly, I don't really feel safe with, it's just like, I moved here, and honestly, if this happens, I'll probably sell my property because I'm just not comfortable with it. It's not right. I want to know who's living over there because one.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Another concern, Chairman, sir.
Cut her off, Caleb.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry.
So, Ms. Walsh, I'm gonna call you to order for a second here, as the chair, and I'm gonna explain a few things to you before I allow you to move forward. 90% of the things.
It's hard for me to understand you. I couldn't get online, but. Sorry, could you please say that one more time? I apologize.
Yeah, I'm calling you to order right now as the chair. I'm going to ask you to stop speaking. and you're going to listen for a minute. So 90% of the concerns you've had right now have absolutely zero place under the umbrella of the zoning board. Who lives there and what she does is absolutely none of this board's business. What we can address is specifically required under the auspices of the permit application. And right now, this young lady who is applying for this meets the requirements of being considered for a special permit, which is what we are doing at this time. The first resident addressed a parking and traffic concern, which you spoke of, and we addressed as well. The initial concern, which I feel as though the board has some concern with as well, is trash management and possibility of pests entering the property based on the management of incoming, outgoing food-based products. So with that being said, that is pretty much what we can deal with. Your dog barking in your yard because she has people over her house has nothing to do with what this board has authority to do. So, with that being said, I'm going to ask the applicant if you have anything to do or any plans in place for food management in terms of being held in food-grade containers, pest management, and waste management. So, if you can address food storage, receipt of food, trash exiting the building, and if there are any pest issues that you may have had. And you do not have to speak of the gopher that was caught, because gophers aren't interested in baked goods. But go ahead.
Thank you. And I hope that was the gopher recently caught, because he ate my entire garden last year. But I appreciate Lori calling in, and I'm happy to address her concerns. As far as trash management and all of that, the scope of what I'm trying to do really, as far as I'm concerned, is much smaller than it sounds like the concern is for. The majority of what I would like to be producing are decorated sugar cookies, which, yes, they produce trash, but not very much. At current and for the past 4 years, the town system of trash that I've been on has been the smallest trash can possible and the largest recycling option. At most, I imagine I may need to move up to a larger trash can, but I don't imagine a dumpster or anything larger like that. And as far as pest control goes, one of the requirements with the Auburn Board of Health is that I am inspected with them continuously to make sure that I am up to code and staying clean, doing everything I can, and also to have regular pest control inspections and make sure that nothing like that is happening. And if there is a problem, to my understanding, if it cannot be addressed, they immediately take away my license, and I am no longer able to do so.
So again, we can't speak to what the Board of Health, again, we're getting out of, and that's okay. I understand we're trying to cover all the bases here, but we're going to narrow it back down to where the zoning board requirement and belongings are. So with that being said, can you just give me an estimate? And I know this is going to be, it will change, I understand. Give the board an estimate as to the amount of pounds of raw goods entering the building weekly, let's say. 100 pounds of butter, 10 pounds of butter, 50 pounds of flour, 100 pounds of flour.
At present, I would guess a quarter of that, not even. Like I said, my goal is to start doing farmers markets and things like that. So I am one person. I have a full-time job, and I am looking to do as much as I can. But as far as the scale of the amount of product that would be coming in, at most, I would say 50 pounds of butter, and I'm thinking that's on a holiday week. And it wouldn't be every single week necessarily that I would be doing things. It would be looking more as heavier in the summer, taking it to farmers markets and things like that. But I can't imagine being able to do the scale or the volume that it sounds like is the concern that I would be doing on this property.
So do you, no, and the reason why I asked that, and I'm sure I'm going to defer to the other members of the board after I have Ms. Walsh speak again, but the reason why I ask these things is to be clear as we move along. And we know we've had other applicants come before the board with similar requests. And in fact, one of the ladies who does quite well had to move out of her home because she came with a special permit request. Her volume got too big, and she ended up moving on to bigger and better places. So do you have an experience with this particular type of business?
I do. I actually went to Johnson & Wales. My majors are pastry and food service entrepreneurship, and my goal is to eventually open a full shop. This is really a stepping stone for me to be able to start building a client base. And once I reach the point that I'm able to even consider that kind of volume, I'm hoping to transition into a brick and mortar, and even better if I can do it in Auburn, to really just be part of the community still.
Excellent. Okay. So I want to, if you are done, I'd like to go back to Ms. Walsh, offer her the opportunity to speak, and if we've addressed all of her concerns so far, and if she has any others that she would like to add based on section 3.9.1.2. Ms. Walsh, are you present still?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hi, yes. So, things, would you like to add more, please?
Sure. Oh, boy. Well, I guess I just say, I mean, the trash, it doesn't sound like as long as it was, I mean, I don't know that she answered all your questions regarding food storage, the receipt of food. You said something like click lock stuff, because I've worked in the restaurants, and I just, like, it's so disgusting. I mean, for years I did. You know, it's not disgusting. You have to keep it clean, but I don't know, in the hot weather, I mean, even right now, the bugs are out. So I guess my biggest, again, is back to the trash and the amount of people coming in and out of this residential area where all of our children live and take the bus and stuff. Those are my two biggest concerns, sir. I don't know if we got on all of them.
Well, again, your concerns that we can address trash and we can address, but the subtle nuances of how those things will happen don't necessarily get decided in a meeting right now. We decide whether or not she has met the criteria for a special permit. And then when it gets deferred to the Board of Health and the Department of Inspectional Services, they see the subtle nuances and they go inspect the area and they make sure that her storage equipment is of food grade and that her trash is managed properly with an on-site, ongoing maintenance program. So that's where you could address the concerns you have with the Department of Inspectional Services if they are not being addressed or not being regularly maintained.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Could I ask the applicant a question?
You most certainly can.
Thank you. Alicia, could you just talk about the percentage of your goods that would be delivered or taken by you to farmers markets as opposed to the percentage that would be picked up at your home? Maybe that would clarify some things.
My hope, I would say, I'm terrible at statistics, but I would say about 90-95% I want to be taking somewhere else. I'm really not imagining a stream of people coming to my house nonstop, and delivery is something that I could make a point of that being a contingency, or whether I meet them somewhere, go to them. I appreciate Lori and my other neighbors calling in and voicing their concerns. I do hear them, and I understand that being a concern of people coming here all day, and that's really not what I'm looking to do.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go around. I need to bring my board members back on board here. I feel like they haven't been involved in a few minutes. So we'll give the abutters a moment to think about things for a second, and then we'll go around the board. So Vice Chair Maron, sir, do you have any questions or concerns of the applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based on the level of discussion and the feedback from the abutters, and I'll just quickly say, always appreciative when abutters take the time to show up and voice their concerns about what happens in the community and more personally within their neighborhoods. But I am absolutely satisfied that the follow-up that the Board of Health would need to do, and other boards as well as Caleb's and his organization, would satisfy me as far as the checks and balances of what needs to be looked at and what needs to be done. I don't have any additional questions for the applicant, and I thank her for being here.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chicolo, sir.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only concern I might have as well as the ones brought up by Mr. Marin, and also just for me to say that there is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that inspectional services as well as the Board of Health will absolutely make sure that everything is proper. Having had experience with the town of Auburn Board of Health, there's no doubt in my mind. I just want to put out and ask the applicant, this is kind of rhetorical, this is not a retail operation, correct?
Correct. I'm not looking for a retail operation out of my home. I'm looking.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Cussy?
Yeah, no questions, Bob. I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Roach?
No questions.
Thank you. Ms. Bush?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any other abutters this evening that would like to speak on this matter? I just want to make sure I'm not overlooking anyone. All right, hearing none, seeing none.
93 Rockland Road present? No, okay.
Okay.
There's a couple other people, not anybody in this neighborhood wants to talk. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, are there any other abutters with the 6 o'clock application hearing that would like to speak that are present this evening? Hearing none, seeing none. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ms. Walsh, back to you, ma'am. Do you have any other concerns that you may have need to address before we move forward?
Thank you for your time. And I appreciate really her clarification on things. I mean, the fact she went to Johnson and Wales and, she seems very versed and whatnot, and she, building herself up. I never want to knock another woman down as far as that's concerned. So that's not why I'm here today. I'm here for the family and for my youngest great-grandchildren. I mean, I'm just trying to foresee things. She doesn't foresee, she said, 90 to 95% would be that, but she doesn't foresee that. But that's a good word because that's kind of ambiguous, because I didn't foresee having 4 children either. I'm just trying to think out of the box. And I do appreciate the gentleman who kind of made her clarify that it wasn't a retail operation. And the other gentleman who spoke of the inspectional services and the Board of Health constantly with the checks and balances. And I do trust this town. I've been in town about 10 years. I grew up in Worcester, so I'm from the area, although I did move out of the area several times. I find myself back here. So I guess, unless anyone else wants to talk, who said that they were going to, I am, and good luck.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, ma'am. I appreciate you coming out and expressing your concerns.
Oh, me too. Really. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
All right. So if there's no other abutters present that would like to speak, and the board has been satisfied, I would like to make a motion or request a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Make a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
Motion to close.
Do I have a second?
Hold on a second.
It's Roach. I'll second.
Thank you. Either one, record, that's fine. So, Mr. Marin has the motion to close, so we'll just go to the top. Mr. Marin, how do you vote to close?
Approved.
Thank you. Mr. Cussy?
Yep, you can close.
Thank you. Mr. Chicolo?
I seconded the motion.
Yes, I understand. I think I was trying to explain that to you earlier, but we were getting walked on. So there was
Sorry, I apologize. Affirmative.
Thank you. Ms. Roach?
Yep, close.
Thank you. Ms. Bush?
Yes, closed.
Through the chair,
Okay.
Through the chair, Ms. Bush isn't voting on this.
No, I know she isn't. I just went down the line I was reading, but I appreciate that. Thank you. So, all right, so the public portion of this hearing is closed. There'll be no further comment on this, except for the acting members of the board that are participating in this hearing.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before we move to entertain a motion, if I could just follow up on one point that was raised during the public portion of the hearing with Caleb directly. So it had been mentioned a potential condition to ask the applicant to put signage on her property indicating that there would be no on-street parking in front of her lot. So Caleb, is that something, from a condition perspective, given that it's a sign directing or creating a directive for the street, is that something that we would, or your team to get involved in? Or is that something that we could make a simple request and she could put a commercial sign on her property if we chose the condition?
Through the chair, I believe you can condition, I believe home occupations are allowed a certain size sign, so you can condition that she has some directional signage if you feel that it's needed.
Okay, but that isn't anything that we would need DPW to get involved with and officiate a sign of some kind of commercial nature, right?
Not as long as the sign's on her property out of the right-of-way.
Okay. All right, thank you for that clarification. Thanks for indulging, Mr. Chairman.
My pleasure. I appreciate that. I like the fact that we can make sure sometimes these can get a little bit unraveled, but we dot the i's and cross the t's. So with that being said, and all the information gathered here at this hearing this evening, do I have a motion on the 6 o'clock p.m. application for special permit under 3912 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for home occupation of property located at 95 Rockland Road, Auburn, Mass., map 11, parcel 93?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Mann, I'll make a motion to approve with standard conditions.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Colo will second.
Thank you very much. So, again, roll call vote. Vice Chair Maron, how do you vote?
Approve?
Mr. Chacolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Cussy, how do you vote?
Approve?
Ms. Roach, how do you vote?
Approve.
And Chairman Tatro, I vote to approve. Should the issue arise, I think we could condition that if traffic becomes an issue, exercise the option to have a sign put up. But I think for the time being, we might waive that expense or cost to the applicant unless we see a complaint or any issues come up, and then we can use that as a level of means to address that problem.
Mr. Chairman, given that I raised the question to Caleb, I'll just make the comment that I felt exactly the same way. I don't feel as though at this point in time it's absolutely necessary to make that as a condition.
I agree. I think you wisely chose, but I think I'm just trying to surmise during this process that we're reserving that space for future use, so to speak. Okay, so everything's all set. You can get in contact with the Department of Inspectional Services, and they will take you and guide you on the next 2 steps of your journey.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to do about a 30-second break here, less than that. Go ahead and shuffle your papers, get yourself a drink, whatever you need to do, and we're going to move right on to the 605. Okay, so 605, application Robert Johnson requesting a special permit under section 3.9.1.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for a home occupation on property located at 332 Oxford Street North, Auburn, Mass., map 32, parcel 37. Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Maron, I'll make a motion to open the hearing.
Do I have a second?
Colo second.
Thank you. A roll call vote. Mr. Maron, how do you vote? Thank you. Mr. Chacolo?
Approve.
Thank you. Mr. Cussy?
Open? Yep.
Thank you. Ms. Roach?
Open.
Thank you, and I vote to open. Okay. Mr. Johnson, applicant, sir, are you present?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Do we have any abutters, as we are gathering our information here this evening, for the 6:05 p.m. hearing that may want to speak before I move forward? Just for identification purposes. All right, hearing none, seeing none. Mr. Johnson, sir, I yield the floor to you. If you could just go over what you're trying to accomplish with the board, and then I will introduce the board members to you each one at a time, and we'll go over their comments. Go ahead.
Yep. So for the past 21 years that I've been here, I've been trying to get a garage put in. So finally, I'm pulling the trigger on that. So we're going to have a place to park our cars, but I'm also going to have space above where me and my other half actually have our own businesses. So I have a shop in Boylston where I keep all my materials and all that kind of stuff, and also an office above that. That's a 50-year business along with my father. And then my other half opened up a nutrition club in Grafton. But we do take our work home. So when we do get home, we take papers and computers and all that kind of stuff, and it's spread all over this house, and it's only a 1,400 square foot house. So we're constantly moving stuff around all the time. So we said to ourselves, hey, we're building a garage. Let's put a office up above so that we could actually come home, go up there, do some work up there, and then come back home into the house with a nice clear area, So that's my intentions.
Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead then and find out again one more time. Do you have any abutters present that want to speak on this? All right, hearing none, seeing none. Vice Chairman Maron, sir, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, to the applicant, the plans that are being shown, and I'll get to these in a moment, I did have an opportunity to take a look at the property, and I saw what appeared to be a poured foundation at this site already.
Yes.
So this work has already begun.
Yes, the garage it can be put in. This meeting is just for saying that it's okay for an office up above, is what I was told.
So, if you could put I think you're driving, sir. If you could put the plans up, the previous plans. Yeah, that one there. Is there any way to? Not that one, the floor plan, actually. So that I could direct our attention to the floor plan that I have in front of me. I'm sorry, it looks like Caleb stepped away. Is Caleb driving the slide? Yeah, that one there. Is there any way to change that or, well, it doesn't matter. So, you described this, this space as an office. But what I see is a full bath and what looks like kitchen cabinets and a sink and a living space. So you describe it as an office, but I'll be blunt, this looks like an apartment.
Yeah, there's no stove in there, as you'll see. And again, like I said, when we're up there, like I said, I don't want to have to go leave the building, go down to go to the bathroom or the garage itself. If I was working down in there and I wanted to go upstairs and take a shower up there and not get junk in my house, that's basically what that was for. And again, like I said, it's strictly, it's detached from the house, like I said. So again, I'm a plumber. I don't know if you know that, but it'd be crazy to put plumbing over there and not put plumbing in.
So the forms of, I see the exterior set of stairs planned. That's
yes.
Correct. Will there be an access to this space from inside the garage?
No, there will not.
So just one entry and same exit on that exterior set of stairs?
Yes, the original design showed the stairs on the inside, but since it's such a small property, I could only fit a 26 by 26 garage in there. So I took the stairs out and put them on the outside.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to reserve additional questions as we move through the hearing.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. Cussy, sir, to you?
Yeah, so there'll be no employees, just you and your other?
Yeah, not at all. There won't be any changes to that. Like I said, my business is actually in Boylston, and my other house is in Grafton.
Okay. I'm good for now. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Full bath, shower, a little bit of a kitchen.
Mr. Chicolo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, no questions. Mr. Marin touched on the things that I was concerned with.
Thank you very much. Ms. Roach?
For now, I don't have any questions. I'd like to reserve for after.
Okay. I don't have any. I think, again, Mr. Marin touched on the concerns that I have, just the means of egress. But we're really here because, if I want to be clear, all of this plan, design, setbacks, everything else in the submitted plan is already okay. It's just a simple fact that you're requesting a business permit for this particular location. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
All right, okay. No intention of dividing this space at some point and making a bedroom up there. I think that was one of the concerns. Usually, you think 700 square feet roughly is our apartment size. Usually involves at least one bedroom. So I think that's where the concern of the other board members might have been, basically is putting that in there and then having somebody living in it shortly thereafter. So,
Yep.
but I can see, again, I understand being a plumber, having a very dirty business at times, needing a bathroom to just go in, strip the clothes off, jump in the shower because you don't want to bring it into your regular house. So I can understand that as well. So, okay, I don't have any questions. I'm just going to make sure around the horn one time real quick. Do we have any abutters that may have joined the meeting before I go around to the members of the board one more time?
Oh, he does.
Okay, so hearing none, seeing none, I'll give you a countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more time around. Vice Chair Marin, sir, any other things then to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No additional questions for the applicant, other than I'll just go on record and state this space, to me, could very easily pivot to an apartment. But I'll leave Caleb and his organization to address any of that concern that might develop down the road.
Okay, I recognize those concerns as well. Mr. Cussy, sir?
No question. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Mr. Chicolo?
Nothing further.
Okay. Ms. Roach?
No, nothing for me. I mean, I think, the concerns are obvious that were raised by the other board members. I guess I would hope that the applicant, if he has plans to change this someday in the future, would come back to the board and do it, the correct way. And I agree with Mr. Marin that, there's only so much under our control. So no other questions for me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it now as well. So,
Through the
if there's
chair.
nothing else then, go ahead, sir.
If I could just jump in for a minute, just to give the board a little background on the application. Mr. Johnson came to the building department for a building permit for the garage. He did indicate that he wanted to use the top floor for his office. I suggested that he apply for a home occupation if that's what he wanted to do, just to cover his bases. I don't see that he's putting he can address this, but the question to ask would be, is he putting 220 electrical up there for an oven, or is it just, it looks to me just like a refrigerator and a sink, which is understandable for an office space. But he did come for this application of his own accord, and he was very honest during the application process that got him here.
Oh, absolutely. I see Mr. Johnson's trucks around. I recognize that he's been a longtime business owner. I'm sure he's a responsible applicant. And it's not him, obviously, as you know, per se. It's the intent of others in the past or the illegal apartments that we've been trying to kind of wrangle for the past few years. So you can see where my board members might have some concerns that they just want to make sure they go on record as identifying and acknowledging. I think that's probably where we're at.
I understand.
So do I have a motion to close the 6:05 public portion of the hearing?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to close the hearing, public portion.
Chacolo will second.
Excellent. Roll call vote. Mr. Marin, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Chacolo, how do you vote? Mr. Cussy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Ms. Roche, how do you vote?
Approve.
All right, and I vote to approve. The public portion of the hearing is closed. Do I have a motion for the 605 applicant for Mr. Johnson requesting a special permit under section 3.9.1.2 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for a home occupation on property located at 332 Oxford Street, Auburn, Mass, map 32, parcel 137?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the standard conditions.
Do I have a second?
Open second.
Thank you. So Vice Chair Marin, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Joel, how do you vote? Mr. Tuffy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Ms. Roach, how do you vote?
Approve.
And myself, as the chair, I vote to approve. Good luck, sir. I'm sure you can be in contact with Caleb, and you'll get through the rest of the process, and hope it goes well for you.
Thank you so much.
All right, so again, you're welcome. The 605 is officially closed. We're going to give it about a 30-second wrap up here for people to shuffle their paperwork, and we're going to get right on to the 610. Okay, so we have a 610 applicant, West Boylston Black Orchid Incorporated, requesting 3 variances under section 3.2.3.3, 3.2.2.3.1, 9.3.6.4, and 5.4 of the Auburn zoning bylaw for apartment building on property located at 3A Hill Street, Auburn, Mass, map 65, parcel 5. Do I have a motion to open the 610 hearing?
Chairman Michael Marin, I make a motion to open the hearing.
Do I have a second?
Chacolo will second.
Thank you. Mr. Marin, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Chacolo, how do you vote? Mr. Cussy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Ms. Roach, how do you vote?
Approve.
And I, the chair, vote to approve. The hearing is now officially open. Is the applicant for the 610 hearing present?
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
The applicant actually requested a continuance via email, so we could take a vote to accept that continuance and move on to the next hearing.
Oh, okay. So the hearing is officially open, which is fine. We had to do that anyway. We've been notified by the Department of Inspectional Services, Caleb Moody, that they have requested a continuance. Do I do a motion to accept the applicant's continuance?
Mr. Chairman Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to accept the continuance as stated.
Do I have a second? Mr. Scholl, thank you very much. So, okay, let's just make sure. Roll call vote. Vice Chair Marin, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Chacolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Cuffy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Ms. Roach, how do you vote?
Approve.
And I vote to approve. So one more quickly then. We have a vote. We have opened the 610 hearing. We accepted their request for continuance, and now we're going to go ahead and close. So I have a motion to close.
Through the chair.
610. Go ahead, sir. We can't close. You're right.
You're right. It remains open. We just move on to the next hearing.
It officially remains open because the request for continuance. We're going to leave it at that because if people have public comment, they can do so after the meeting at the town hall. So with that being said, the 610 officially remains open, and we're going to set it aside and move on to the 615. Okay. the last applicant for this evening, 6:15 p.m., applicant Robert Sposato III, requesting a variance under section 5.4 of the Auburn zoning bylaw to build a single-family home on property located at 9 Ellie Way, Auburn, Mass., map 1, parcel 92. Do I have a motion to open the hearing?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Marin, I'll make a motion to open the hearing.
Do I have a second?
Colo, second.
Thank you. Mr. Marin, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Chacolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Cussy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Ms. Roach, how do you vote?
Approve.
And I vote to approve. The hearing is officially open. Mr. Sposato, are you present, sir?
Mr. Chairman, this is Attorney Joe Boynton appearing for Robert Sposato. Unfortunately, Mr. Sposato is out of town on military training and cannot join us tonight.
Well, I please, as a veteran, extend my gratitude for his military service, even if it is training. I appreciate his willingness to sacrifice. So if you, sir, could go over the request, and I will prepare the board to submit questions to you after that's done.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, Mr. Sposato purchased a house lot on Ellie Way in Worcester. The street is entirely within the city of Worcester. It's a 23,000 square foot lot. It meets all of the area and setback requirements of the Auburn zoning bylaw. It also meets the frontage requirements of the Worcester City zoning ordinance for single-family house in the Worcester zone. Unfortunately, that frontage on the street itself is less than 100 feet required by the Auburn bylaw. So Mr. Sposato needs a variance in order to build the house on the land that he has purchased. As you may have seen if you've taken a view, the Worcester portion of the lot is a detention basin. It goes down steeply to a structure in the ground. City of Worcester owns an easement, mostly on Mr. Sposato's lot, a small strip along the neighboring lot. All of the buildable area of the lot is on the Auburn portion of the lot. So effectively, no building can occur on the Worcester land. If he could move his house over onto the Worcester portion of the lot, we would not have had to come to Auburn for variance. But because of the detention basin there and the inability to change the grade and the necessity for permeable soil for the detention of stormwater, it's not possible to build a house over there. The preliminary plans show that the deck is some 55 feet from the rear lot line. The plan for the house, it will be somewhat different from this one, as Mr. Sposato has had to change builders, but it will be forward on the lot, not near the abutters or much farther from the abutters than what the setback requirement is under the Auburn bylaw. It's a single-family house in a single-family zone on an oversized lot. So it's not, granting the variance will not result in use of the premises that's detrimental to the homeowners in Auburn, and all of the traffic, and the water and the sewer will come from Worcester. So there's very little impact on the town of Auburn itself. I think that pretty much summarizes what we want to do, and I'd be happy to attempt to answer any questions that the board members may have.
Excellent, thank you. So before I defer to the board members, do you have any abutters present that may want to speak on this hearing?
We do, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I have is it Michelle Reedy? Is that correct?
Yes.
Hi, Ms. Reedy. If you could just go ahead, I'm assuming because I saw your name pop up, but if you could identify yourself, give us your name and address, and then you can give us your concerns, please.
Sure. Michelle and Sean Reedy, 6 Erica Lane, Auburn.
Okay, your concerns, please, ma'am?
I'm concerned with the frontage of the property. Seems too close to the road. It seems like there's not enough room to put a house there.
Okay, so yours from the front of the property where it's being built to the alleyway in Worcester, that's the concern?
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure before I bring that to the attention of the applicant. Sir, do you know the actual footage of setback there for that particular concern?
Mr. Chairman, the plan shows that the proposed house meets the setback requirement under both the zoning ordinance and the zoning bylaw. We're not seeking a variance from the setback requirement.
What is the exact amount of footage difference that you are looking for, sir?
We have 69.63 feet of frontage on alleyway. The requirement is for 100, so that's 30.37, I think.
Okay, so about 30.37 feet. And if you could describe that, we all see this particular diagram that you have here. Based on where it says Town of Auburn, City of Worcester, can you just point it out on the map for everyone, or at least give us an idea so they're all on the same page?
With respect to the setback, is that the question?
Yes.
Yes, in the lower left-hand corner, the surveyor has a table of all of the dimensional requirements. And the front yard setback for Worcester and for Auburn is 20 feet. And he does show along the dotted line the 20-foot setback parallel to the cul-de-sac there, and the house is behind the setback line.
Okay. So, ma'am, Ms. Reedy, so I think if you heard the applicant, as he had mentioned, the request here is not really for the setback. They meet all the setback requirements. This is about 30 feet, really, that goes through an imaginary line between the Town of Auburn and the Town of Worcester, or the City of Worcester.
Understood.
I'm sorry?
Understood now.
Okay. Do you have any other questions or concerns?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other abutters present that would like to speak on this matter?
Yes, I'm in a butter behind the property.
Okay, give us your name and address, please, sir.
Certainly, Matthew and Kathy Mello, 7 Erica Lane.
7 Erica Lane, and I'm just assuming that is in Auburn, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Just because we're dealing with, again, something...
No, you're right, yes.
All the time.
Correct.
Okay, what are you concerned, sir?
A couple of concerns. First of all, just number one, is it the same builder who built the other homes that are there right now?
To the applicant, is this the same builder, sir?
Yeah.
I do not believe it would be the same builder. I believe not.
Okay, that's a huge concern of mine because that, I mean, not to take it off the subject here, but that builder was excruciatingly difficult to work with. The person who sold the property to that builder probably drove that man into the ground after the property was sold, but that's another discussion. Literally the house, the lot is, it appears to me about 25 or 30 feet above sea level to my property. And we're putting a house on a postage stamp and I'm concerned with how much more is going to be filled in to put this house, and then how much of the house is in Auburn and how much of the house is in Worcester. Because if the majority of the house is in Auburn, then it does not meet the guidelines that we've spelled out here for the frontage, obviously. So how much of the house will be in the town of Auburn?
Okay, so to the applicant, sir, if you want to just go ahead and address, he wants to know how much of the house will be in Auburn, and what was the other concern, sir?
The concern is that the lot is already built up and drains off directly to my property line. How much more can this lot be filled in behind the house to support a house without that coming into my property?
Okay, sir, can you address those concerns of the applicant?
Well, I can tell you that the house would be entirely within the town of Auburn, insofar as we can rely on town lines. And it is an oversized lot. It's a lot larger lot than what the zoning bylaw of Auburn requires, so it's far from a postage stamp. And the house is really as close to the street as it's possible to locate it without violating the setback requirement. So I do not see that the construction of the house will do much to change the surface water drainage. I believe also, no, I'll leave that at that.
Okay, so I think really what his concern is this property, is he going to basically put the foundation in and then he's going to backfill and grade? I think that's what they're asking.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, yes, through the chair, exactly, because it really drifts off down towards my property. It's hard to see now because whoever had the lot cut down 1 million trees and just left them there. I mean, the site is literally a dump site right now. So my other concern is that how much of the town of Auburn is going to keep tabs on this project, because literally it's a dump site. He's dumped whoever's been there before has dumped concrete. I'm worried about whatever is there is going to be buried into the lot, which could cause problems down the road.
Okay, well,
through the chair.
Again, go ahead, Caleb. I'll let you address that.
Thank you. I appreciate the abutters' concerns. I just want to make sure that we stay on point. This is a variance application. There's specific criteria that the applicant has to meet in order for the board to issue that variance. Three specific areas that they have to prove.
Right.
I do have a couple questions for the applicant, if you don't mind, through the chair.
No, please, go right ahead.
So through the chair, when this subdivision was originally approved, this lot is labeled as 8-3. Was this lot in existence at the time the subdivision was approved by the city of Worcester and the town of Auburn?
I understand that the lot lines were changed from the original subdivision, and that this appears on an approval not required plan, which I believe is part of the package, which was endorsed by the Auburn Planning Board and the Worcester Planning Board.
So through the chair, to be clear, the subdivision was approved and accepted, and this lot was further divided after that as an A&R?
I don't know that further divided is the correct term. I understand that the lot lines were changed subsequently. I have not looked at the original subdivision plan, so I really can't answer that fully, but I do know that this is a plan on an A&R plan that shows 3 lots, not the entire subdivision.
So through the chair, I have reviewed the original subdivision approval. Lot 8 was originally had the frontage required in Auburn as it was approved and then was later divided into 3 parcels. After it was divided, those 3 parcels now do not meet Auburn's bylaw for frontage. That's all I have at this time.
Okay, I appreciate that input, and rather than me having my, I'm not going to take my opportunity now to speak. I'm going to pass it around to the board again after this abutter is done, and then we can address those concerns one at a time. But to go back to the abutter, I'd like to give you a break for a minute and then get the sort of all these thoughts that are swirling around collected and put into one concise paragraph, and then we can revisit you in a minute if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Absolutely, through the chair. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. So we have a lot to unravel here. So Vice Chair Marin, I'm going to defer the floor to you, sir. And if you want to go ahead and start firing your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for the applicant, in some of your opening comments, you had mentioned that builders have changed and the plans are to change. Am I to understand that the footprint of what's proposed in front of us is not changing, or is it in fact changing based on having a new builder and new plans?
I believe that it will be basically the same. Mr. Sposato mentioned to me that it will be a different house from what he originally planned to do. It will necessarily fall within the same, setback areas. I have no inkling from Mr. Sposato that he plans to move it substantially from where it's shown on the plan.
Okay, but just to be clear, the plans that we're looking at today are subject to change based on the new house, correct?
It would be.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, I would just submit that based on the criteria for a variance, and I did have an opportunity to view the lot, there's certainly a topography challenge with where this house could be placed based on not only the way this lot is situated based on Worcester and Auburn line, but the topology of the lot. So I, for one, don't believe that it's going to be a substantial climb to meet the requirements of a variance. But having said that, I'll just go on record and state bluntly that if these are not the plans and there's a possibility that they're changing, then I would not be comfortable in voting on an application without seeing the exact plan. And I'll defer any additional questions, and I know that was more of a statement than a question, but just for my board members to think about that comment, and I'll hold any further questions as we continue. Thank you, sir.
I believe that we share the same concerns, Mr. Marin, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. Mr. Cuffey, sir, do you?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who you were looking for.
I just went in order of my script, so I just called Mr. Cuffey.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Yeah, I don't see where we can grant the variance. It's not even close on frontage. I mean, it requires 100 feet, and we don't even have 70 feet. Yeah, I don't see where we can deliver a variance here. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chicolo.
I'm going to reiterate the same comments as Mr. Marin, that what I heard from his representative, the attorney, was that he believed certain things and it didn't seem like much was going to change. I'm not going to vote on a variance unless I have concrete evidence in front of me. In viewing the lot, as Mr. Marin said, it is definitely topographically challenged. I, for one, would say that if everything stayed the same, I'm okay with it because it is one of the most challenged lots that we've seen. But if what I'm seeing was originally what was proposed and boundaries have changed since then, no, I want to see what it is as of today. I would suggest that we would, as a board, would be best served, and the petitioner would be best served pulling this application without any prejudice and resubmitting when we have some concrete numbers.
Okay, I appreciate those thoughts, sir. Thank you. Ms. Roach?
So, I guess, and maybe I am not hearing what everyone else is hearing, but I guess I want to go back to something that Caleb sort of touched on, which was that this was not the original plan that was for the development that was approved by the city, and I understand that we've said that it was changed, but I guess I would have some questions. Does anyone have any reasons for that? Was it changed before Mr. Sposato purchased it, after he purchased it? I guess I'm a little confused on the original subdivision being one thing, with proper frontages, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's just unusual to have a plan approved by the city, then have a new plan submitted where you break up lots that don't give you the right frontage, and then come and ask for a variance, in my opinion.
All right, so I'm going to defer that back over to Caleb for a minute then. Caleb, can you touch on the concerns that Ms. Roach spoke of? Or can you guide us to those answers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to speak for the applicant, but I believe Mr. Sposato purchased Lot 8-3 after it was subdivided by the original builder. I definitely sympathize with Mr. Sposato because I believe he was duped, let's just say. The original lot had the required frontage that Auburn requires. The developer or builder subdivided and created 3 lots that don't conform, or one of them may conform, but Lot 8-3 does not conform to the Auburn bylaw. So any hardship was created when the lot was divided, unfortunately for Mr. Sposato. I don't see how a variance can be issued for a hardship that was created much later than the bylaw.
And I really want to go back for one moment, first of all, is that you brought it up at the beginning of the hearing, but Ms. Roach desired to revisit that. I appreciate that attention to detail on her behalf. So thank you with that, Ms. Roach. So if this was a divided lot approved by the City of Worcester Planning Board, as spoken and stated anyway, and then approved by the Auburn Planning Board, and then how would these go to get redivided after that?
So I can talk to that point. This lot in particular has a drainage easement that's 19,000, almost 20,000 square feet. It's a 23,800 square foot lot. For an A&R plan, you need to show that you have frontage. The Worcester frontage requirement is 65 feet, I believe. This lot has 69 feet, so they have frontage. The planning board by law has to sign it. This meets the approval of a buildable lot. The problem Mr. Sposato's running into is he cannot build the house in Worcester because of the drainage easement. And he does not have the 100 linear feet that's required in Auburn, unfortunately.
All right, so to the applicant.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yes, you please. Go ahead, Ms. Roach.
Sorry. So I guess just for clarification purposes, Caleb, I just want to touch on a little bit of what you just said, because in the beginning of this, when the abutter had said, you know, he was putting a house on a postage stamp, you know, it is a very big lot in terms of what is required, but the drainage easement takes up a huge amount of the lot. Now, in my opinion, that is not for us to decide that makes it not qualify for a variance. But I think it is important to note that if this drainage easement was not there, Mr. Sposato could build his house in Worcester because he has the frontage. His house would be located closer to where the easement is, and he would not be before us. But unfortunately, that's not the way the lot is set up. Would you agree with that, Caleb?
Megan, that's exactly right. If the drainage easement wasn't there, he could build his house entirely in Worcester. He would have the frontage requirement, and we would not even be involved. But because the drainage easement is forcing him to put the house in Worcester, I have to look at our bylaw, and our bylaw requires 100 feet of frontage, which he does not have.
So again, go
okay. And Attorney Boynton, can you speak?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope, sorry. I guess I just was wondering if the applicant's attorney does have any information on confirming, you know, was this split up right before he bought it? And in his opinion, he was unaware.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, to answer Ms. Roach's question, I checked my documents while I was waiting. The plan was endorsed by the Planning Board in Auburn in March of 2019. It was endorsed by Worcester in 2018. Mr. Sposato purchased the lot by a deed that was recorded on December 9, 2019. So he's owned it since December 2019, and the plan was on record before he bought it.
So somewhere between the time that the March of 18 and the March of 19, these three lots were redrawn because these lots do not meet the required or the submitted plan. That's what we're trying to get to. How did these lots get redivided after the plan was submitted?
Through the chair. Go ahead, Mr.
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Boynton. You can answer that.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Roach's question, as I understood it, was whether the lot was divided after Mr. Sposato purchased. It was not. This is what Mr. Sposato purchased. He is an individual, wants to be a homeowner in the town of Auburn, and the reconfiguration of the lots occurred before he purchased this lot.
So reconfiguration of these three lots took place when, though? Was it between the March 18, when the city of Worcester approved it, and March 19, when the town of Auburn approved it? Or was it post the March of 19 meeting after Auburn approved it?
No, Auburn approved it in March of 19. Mr. Sposato, Auburn endorsed the plan in March of 19, and Mr. Sposato purchased in December of that year.
All right, so maybe I'm confused, and I'm going to seek Caleb to help me clarify this a little bit. And I apologize if I certainly could be.
That's
so
okay.
So at one point...
Through the chair, I can jump in and try and explain the timeline.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so the subdivision was approved. Lot 8 existed. It had the over 100 feet of frontage. Subdivision was built. No houses were constructed on Lot 8. Sometime later down the road, the developer split Lot 8 into 3 separate lots, all having the frontage requirement of at least 65 feet, so they meet the frontage requirement in the city of Worcester.
Right.
So anybody that wants to build a house in the city of Worcester can build on these lots. Mr. Sposato,
Right.
Mr. Sposato purchased Lot 8-3 which contains a drainage easement in Worcester. The only buildable portion of this lot is in Auburn. So he could not build in Worcester. But the planning board is obligated by law to sign this A&R plan because it has the required frontage in Worcester. They don't have to show the drainage easement on the A&R plan. They don't have to show where the house is going. All they have to show is the land area and the frontage requirement. So they were obligated by law to sign the A&R plan dividing these lots. The problem is this...
When you say they, I'm sorry, but when you say they, are you referring to our Town of Auburn's planning board?
Both the Auburn Planning Board and the City of Worcester Planning Boards need to sign it because there is land in both communities.
Right, I understand that.
So it is a buildable...
And I understand, so what I want to be clear here is, at one point, this was lot 8.0, and then it became lot 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3, correct?
Correct.
So was that done?
Prior to Mr. Sposato purchasing it.
Prior to him purchasing it, but after the plan was submitted to the both Worcester Auburn planning boards, correct?
The planning boards approved the division of Lot 8 into 3 lots.
That's what I was trying, okay, all right, fine, all right,
Because,
okay.
because they're obligated because they have the frontage in the City of Worcester.
City of Worcester, right, okay. So I get that, and I understand that. I just feel as though that the board is being burdened with providing relief for something, even though it meets the criteria.
I don't know that it meets the criteria because the hardship was created by the division of the lots.
Well, exactly, that's what I mean. That's where I'm going. I don't know if, so anyway, all right, so to the applicant, sir, do you have anything you'd like to add? I think some of the members have spoken here and they have been clear that they are open to the possibility of granting the variance, but they are not satisfied with the, as it mentioned, that the house lot could change or the position of the house on the property could change. I think they want to see more of a lock-in plan before they discuss this any further.
Through the chair. I just want to make sure we don't give the applicant false hope and that he goes and spends more money moving the house. I don't see that he can, if he can't meet one of the mandatory findings, I don't think that moving the house is going to satisfy that. I just don't want to see the applicant spend any more money having new plans drawn up if members of what I'm hearing, some members are concerned with the issuance of the variance regardless of where the house is located in Auburn.
Right, and I agree with that. That's where I was going. I might have been taking the long way around, and I apologize. I try to take the shortcut, but I'm not always that good at it. So I'm going to go around the board one more time. Vice Chair Maron, sir, with all the gathered information that you've heard, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tuffy.
Yeah, through the board, a question for Caleb. Is there a possibility of a hammerhead lot here?
Through the chair, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I don't know that he'd be able to accomplish not putting the house in the handle of the hammer. That's one of the requirements. Just because of the topography, putting the house in the back of the lot would be problematic. Just my opinion. I guess that would be more a question for the applicant and his design engineer. I think it would be difficult at best.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chicolo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For Caleb, and thank you for clarifying everything that you have clarified. I heard you say that after the lot was subdivided, by law, Worcester Planning Board had to sign off on it. Is that correct?
That's correct. I believe that's correct, yes. In order to have an A&R, in order to have an A&R plan approved, you just need to show that you have the required road frontage and the required land area. You don't have to show where the house will be or any more than.
At that time, did the Auburn Planning Board also sign off on it?
Yes, because they're required to sign off by law if you can show you have the required frontage and the required land area.
That criteria, from what I'm hearing, that criteria of the required frontage was not met for Auburn, yet they signed off on it.
Through the chair, the required frontage is 65 feet. The lot has, the majority of the lot is in Worcester. So if you build a house in Worcester, you meet the Worcester frontage requirement of 65 feet. The problem he's having is he wants to put the house in Auburn because the Worcester side of the lot contains a drainage easement that he cannot build on.
And I do understand that, but I'm hearing from you that the Auburn Planning Board at that time did sign off on it.
They did because to the Auburn Planning Board, this is a buildable lot in the city of Worcester with 65 feet of frontage.
What would Auburn have to say about it being a buildable lot in Worcester? They have their own criteria in Auburn.
That's correct, but because the parcel has land in Auburn and Worcester, the applicant for an A&R needs signatures from both boards. As I stated it.
Okay, and now I guess I come right full circle to saying, and Auburn, by the planning board signing it, okay, Auburn Planning Board said, you're good to go.
You have a buildable lot for the city of Worcester, absolutely. And he could build, and he can build his house in Worcester because they require 65 feet of frontage.
Yeah, so Auburn can give the okay, even though it doesn't meet what Auburn requires. And the okay, Auburn said okay, and that's the Auburn Planning Board.
The Auburn Planning Board approved a lot in the city of Worcester because they met the frontage requirement.
Does that not make sense? That Auburn would approve a lot so that somebody could put a house on it in Worcester, and Auburn is approving that?
Auburn and the city of Worcester approve it because it has land in both towns. The problem comes in. The problem comes in when they come to apply for a building permit. He didn't go to Worcester for the building permit. He came to Auburn.
And the approvals are not separate and distinct. So Auburn's approval is subservient to Worcester's? In other words, are they separate and distinct?
It's an A&R plan. Auburn is required by law to sign, the planning board's required by law to sign it if the applicant can show that he has adequate frontage and land area. The A&R plan does not need to show a drainage easement. It does not need to show a house location. All it needs to show is the lot, the land area, and the frontage.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, thank you, Caleb.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go back to what I said before, that the words that were being used by the representative of Mr. Sposato left doubt in my mind as to what the position might be if it was the same house, and I don't care if it's the style of house, that's not up to me, but position and exact dimensions, and so forth, that has bearing on what we're considering. I'm going to say again, I think that everybody might be better served to get some definite numbers and positions, and at the same time, maybe the attorney from Mr. Sposato could get further information clarifying what we've just been discussing.
Okay. So, there's a lot to digest here. So I want to go back to, is the abutter still present?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so you can see what we're trying to distill here and go through all of these things. You know, the elevation, the drainage, all those things are managed. It's really the issue of whether or not, because of this complex situation between the borders of Auburn and Worcester, whether or not it is a burden with 30.37 feet of you know, setback waiver, so to speak. Are there any other concerns that you may have? I know you mentioned the possibility of water on your property. Is there anything else really?
Well, I mean, that's a big part of it, yes. I mean, and to my I'm going to apologize for my comment before about calling it a postage stamp lot, but for the purposes of what he's trying to achieve, he is trying to put this on a postage stamp in Auburn. The whole lot, I get it, the whole lot is big, but I understand, you know, trying to put the house on the lot, to me, looks like you're dropping it on a postage stamp, so that's all I want to say. I just want to apologize for the way I said it, sir.
No, that's okay. I appreciate that. I mean, I understand looking at it from the point of view of what can be seen from the street versus what can be used, but the fact of the matter is, if that little red line wasn't there, we wouldn't be having this conversation, you know? So to the applicant's attorney, can you point out on this map where we're looking at the circle of Ellie Way, and then you see where it says a 6-foot covered porch? Where exactly is this 3.37 feet of setback that we would be granting?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, could you repeat that? I don't think I got the question.
So I'm trying to give the folks at home and everybody on the board here a little bit better mental picture. And if you see where the cul-de-sac of Ellie Way swings and the covered porch is based on the proposed house, where is this 30.37 square feet, or straight linear feet rather, of need?
Through the chair, I can jump in on that. So it's not a setback request, it's lack of road frontage. So they have 69.63 feet on Ellie Way. They're short.
Well, that's what I want. Yeah, right, okay.
They're short the 30 feet and change on the road.
Right, it's 69.3 feet because of that loop where it says R50, 50 feet. The radius is 50 feet. So it's based on the fact that that little bit of loop right there, 69 feet. All right. Okay, so honestly, I think we've exhausted all the information that we can gather. I think we need to find out where the board believes this should go. Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask that it be continued based on the board questions, but I do have some comments to make before then.
Okay, go right ahead, sir. I appreciate that. I yield the floor to you.
Certainly. I would point out that if the prior owner had simply changed the front line at the lower right corner so that there was additional frontage, that the house could go anywhere within the setback area on the lot, and the abutters concerned with where exactly on the lot the house is would be immaterial. You can build anywhere within the setback lines that the Town of Auburn bylaw establishes. So something that could have occurred, and I don't know, maybe it would occur on another lot that's on Ellie Way, but it's having the house entirely within the setback areas that Auburn sets is, what Auburn requires. I disagree with Mr. Moody's analysis of the hardship. Mr. Sposato, of course, did not create the lot, and it was a conforming lot when it was created, from what I can tell, and the analysis is you go for the unique condition, which in this case is soil conditions and topography, and those features create the hardship that require moving the house over to the right into the Auburn portion. And so the hardship was not created even by the prior owner of this land. The hardship has to be created by a unique condition having to do with shape, topography, soil conditions, and one other category that I can't remember. And the hardship is created by two of the conditions that are unique to this lot. But in any event, Mr. Sposato, unfortunately, was not able to be here. He would have been able to inform me of what his plans are for the location of the house. I will be happy to ask him about that, and therefore request that the hearing be continued to your next meeting.
Okay, so I think you obviously have heard the list of concerns from the abutters and the other members of the board, and also, again, Caleb's credit doesn't want your applicant to spend any more money than necessary, given the fact that the totality of the circumstances here, so to speak. But I think the board, it appears to me anyway, at least from my point of view, that we are willing to work with you on this issue, providing all of these other criteria met. However, that is absolutely not a guarantee at all that the board will vote affirmatively for the application. I need you to understand that as well. So the burden,
I understand that entirely.
I know you are, but I just have to say that as from a volunteer perspective, liability of the town, the board being clear about what our intentions are. I can't guarantee, because I only speak for myself, I don't speak for the members of the board. Each member has an individual, equal valued vote. So they could say no, and that burden still is on the applicant. So I just want to be clear with all that, because really here, the interest of fairness, I think, for everyone. So with that being said, the applicant has requested a continuance. So what I'm going to do is I am going to close the public portion of the hearing in a minute. Don't get nervous yet. We will take into consideration the continuation, the request for a continuance, and then we will keep the hearing open for any further public comment. So to the applicant, is that all right with you, sir?
Well, you confused me a little. I thought you were saying you were closing the hearing and you're keeping the hearing open. I think the hearing does have to be kept open. Okay. Because you want to hear from us.
Let's start over again. So I apologize. So you requested a continuance. I'm being clear that we accept the continuance, but I have to close the public portion of the hearing, get to a vote to accept the continuance, and then keep the hearing open.
Through the chair.
Yep, go ahead, sir.
We would just need a motion to accept the continuance and a vote on that.
Yep, okay, so we don't need to close the public portion of the hearing, okay. All right, so with that being said, the applicant has requested a continuance. Do I have a motion to accept the applicant's requested continuance?
So Chairman Michael Maron, I'll make a motion to accept the request for a continuance.
Excellent, thank you. Do I have a second?
Chacolo will second.
All right, roll call vote. Mr. Maron, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Chacolo, how do you vote?
Approve.
Mr. Cussy, how do you vote?
Approve.
Ms. Roach, how do you vote?
Approve.
And the chair, I approve a vote to acknowledge. And so with that being said, this hearing is continued until such time the applicant can prepare all the answers and readdress the board. This hearing remains open and the public comment is available at the town hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'll see you next month.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, sir. We'll get to the bottom of this one way or the other.
Very good. Good night.
And if I am not mistaken, yes, the hearings that we have for this evening, we have other business to move on to. We have minutes from 11/17/20, 1/21/21, and 2/18/21 that need to be accepted. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Maron, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as stated, as submitted.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. From the top, Mr. Maron.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, approved.
Thank you. That's okay. Mr. Chicolo. Mr. Cuffey.
Approved.
Ms. Roach.
Approve.
Okay, and I vote to approve. On to the next new business. We have 430 Roxdale Street. Request for special permit extension. Caleb, could you just touch on what's going on with this particular application?
Through the chair, the applicant's present and can make a presentation, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. If the applicant could introduce themselves and go ahead and talk to the board for a minute.
Certainly. Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
I can.
Excellent. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sarah Rosenblatt, and I am the Development Manager for SWEB Development. I am also the prime project manager for this project and have approached the board for our original special permit as well as our special permit extension, almost an exact 1-year anniversary last year. Essentially what has happened is, in addition to the previous rounds of studies, National Grid has required yet again another additional group study. This commenced on April 5th of this year and will take approximately 160 business days, which brings us to the end of November. Within this past month alone, National Grid has already issued a number of force majeures, which has delayed that timeline already. So just understanding the timeline and knowing what winters are like here in Massachusetts, the likelihood that we will receive the results from this study will not be until the first quarter of 2022. So essentially, due to the timelines above, we are requesting an extension for an additional 2 years to allow National Grid to complete our study and also to allow us to order, procure, prepare our equipment, suppliers, contractors, and begin construction as per the original conditions of the special permit. I would like to state at this time, the project has not changed. It is the exact same layout that was previously proposed. We are just going through rounds of study with National Grid at this point.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Do I have a motion on the request for continuation for a 2-year on the special permit?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Maron, I'll make a motion to accept the request for 2-year continuance.
Excellent.
Actually, it's extension, apologies.
Oh, that's okay. Do I have a second? Do I have a second on Mr. Maron's proposal to accept for a 2-year extension?
Colo seconded.
Thank you. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry also.
From top, Mr. Cuffey, Mr. Maron?
Approved.
Thank you. Mr. Chicolo?
Approved.
Thank you. Mr. Cuffey?
Approved.
Thank you. Ms. Roach?
Approved.
Thank you. And the chair, I approve. So good luck with your study. I hope it goes well. Hopefully we have a breakthrough in solar technology, and maybe it actually works out in the long run for us here.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have one request that we get something from a member of the board or a clerk in writing that just states that this special permit has been approved for extension for 2 years.
Absolutely. I'm sure that Caleb and the staff at the Department of Special Services will be happy to provide you with whatever documentation you need.
Certainly. I can follow up with them. Thank you all so much for your time this evening. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. Stay safe. Okay, so we've taken care of the other business. We've taken care of the minutes of the meetings that we required. Our next meeting is June 17th, 2021. Caleb, according to the governor's orders and what we've seen so far, is this a possibility that we might actually meet in the town hall again in June?
Stay tuned.
Okay. So with that being said, there's a possibility we might be back in the town hall. We might not be. Either way, but I believe that we've covered all our business. Does anybody have anything else to add?
Mr. Chairman, at the risk of keeping us for another minute, the agenda this evening, the hearings were separated by 5-minute increments, and I don't know that I've noticed that in the past, and it's a very minor point, but I think we had little to no chance of meeting that schedule.
I think it's just keeping. But I'm sure the expectation of the applicant when they see that might be different. I'm not sure.
That was my thought to bring it up on the applicant's point of view. It's a silly point, but if I'm an applicant and I show up for 10 hearings, it's 6:45, I'm probably wondering what.
Right.
Through the
I know.
chair.
I think at one time. Go ahead, sir.
I can comment on that. We could separate them by longer times. The downside to that is if the hearings go quickly, then we're all sitting around, including the applicants, waiting for that time to come. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Whatever the board prefers, we can separate the hearings.
I think it's a placekeeping thing, but as long as the applicants understand that, we have abutters that call in, or we have some other things that we have to distill, then we have to spend a lot more time than we anticipate. So I do understand that as well, but personally, I would like to keep it the way it is, as long as people understand it and they're okay with it. Again, because like Caleb said, I've been in other meetings where we used to separate them by 15 minutes, and you're left sitting there sometimes for 10 minutes because you can't carry on.
Yeah, absolutely correct, Mr. Chairman, and I wouldn't suggest a change. I just couldn't help myself from pointing it out.
And I completely agree. You never know. Sometimes, people ask me how long it's going to be, and I say, sometimes 3 hearings take 15 minutes. Sometimes 1 hearing takes 3 hours. You really don't know. So with that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
And I will second.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Approve.
Mr. Chicolo. Mr. Cuffey.
Approve.
Ms. Roach.
Approve.
Ms. Bush.
Approve.
And the chair, I approve. Thank you very much. We'll see you all in June.
Take care, everyone.